you know, so you get kind of spoiled by that too, I might add.
Well, and then I mean in Nightmare 3, because he wrote the original script, we have to mention too that Wes knew how to write for teenagers, about teenagers. And you know, Nightmare 1, he had his own teenager, his daughter Jessica and his son Jonathan were, I don't know, 14 and 13.
He had the ear.
Yeah, he just knew how relationships with teenagers were and how to be the outcast teenager. And he understood that there were all these little levels of, you know, social, you know, jockeying going on when you're a teenager. And I think the success of Nightmare 3, a lot of it has to do with just the teenager relationships were so great in that movie. And the way that they, at first they're so apart, they're all so different, they all like don't relate at all to each other. And by the end, they're this like incredible team and they're like coming together. Oh, there he is, Rodney!
Rodney's in the house. You know, Rodney was hanging out in Georgetown. Hi, Fells Point. Another question. Chris?
I actually, we're turning it into Sundance Festival this week. This is the late deadline. That's me. I just have to wait till the last minute. That's the 24th of September, so we're putting the final touches on it this week, and then I have to wait to see if we get into the festival before I can release it, because they have a, you know, exclusivity kind of clause when you submit to them. So as soon as I find out, if we don't get in, then I'll release it right away in probably January, beginning of the new year. And if we get into the festival, then, or any festival, I'm going to submit it to several, then it'll be watched first at those places and then released on DVD after.
Now, is Never Sleep Again going to A&E?
Oh, and then Never Sleep Again, which, yeah, it's going to be aired in segments at the end of October on Biography, Bio channel, at A&E channel. So they're taking all 4 hours and they're cutting it into a way that they think is a way to do it for TV. And so I'm really excited about that too.
You guys are all hardcore fans, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, because I watched it in an afternoon, you know, with a tuna melt, and there's so much information and so much insight into a moment of time in Hollywood and a kind of filmmaking, and it's not only enlightening, it's envious, it's nostalgic. But you learn so much. When I saw Heather's research team's footage of Peter Jackson, you know, as a young man writing a draft of one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, I mean, I know a lot of gossip about these movies, and I'd never come across that statistic. It's really amazing, and you know, you don't have to bite it all off in one, you know, in one meal. You can watch it in segments, but you should watch every single moment that Heather and her research team and her producers and her crew film, because it's beyond Nightmare on Elm Street. It's also about a time in the American cinema that no longer exists, when you could do things. That doesn't mean that there's not great things to come and there's not great stuff being done, both on a low budget level and in horror and in Hollywood. It's just that this is a specific moment of time. And I think Heather and her people really captured it, and I can't like stick up for it enough.
I don't know if Dan Ferentz is here. Are you here, Dan? He's our producer. Yeah, he actually is like.
I think he was with Rodney.
Yeah, they were together. Shh. No, what I have to say about you know, when the growth of these conventions and I think we've all known that the cult of Nightmare on Elm Street has grown so much that it gave everybody a lot of confidence to take on a project like this. I mean, I think we knew that we had the audience to do it, and you know, Dan is probably one of the most ardent fans of the series, so having him at the helm was, you know, was really one of the reasons it was so great. And then I have to thank everybody at the table too, because they all gave interviews and it wouldn't be nearly as great without everybody's
You
participation.
owe me a sushi meal in Malibu Hill.
I know I have $20 so I can buy a piece of sushi and then try.
Yeah, I'm excited about the A&E situation, and I'll put my enthusiasm into one word: residuals.
Questions?
Right here.
This is a question for all of you. Was there a role that you auditioned for in your career that you didn't get that you wish that you did?
John, you go first.
I don't know how many times I suppose I have.
Didn't you read Robert's book?
I did.
Every chapter.
No, I want to hear John, the ones that John didn't get, because he got so many.
I know.
No, I mean everybody.
Just like one that sticks out in your mind. I'm not like, you know.
One particular one?
Yeah.
Well, more than not getting a role, I had an experience where I was cut out of a role, very seriously. But that's another story. Yeah, I don't want to go into it. It didn't have to do with a horror film. It was a Western film that was directed by John Huston and with Burt Lancaster and so on. And they had differing ideas of the story. And I was put in the middle of the story by John Huston, developed more scenes for me, which irritated Lancaster more and more, so I got cut out of the film.
Is this The Unforgiven?
Yeah.
Brooke?
I had a scene with riding down a hill, astride Audrey Hepburn riding down a hill, both of us meeting at the bottom of this hill, getting off, and dark, fire next to the both of us, in the middle of both of us. I'm lying on one side and she on the other side, and then I kind of sort of get up and get on my knees and walk over to her and lie on top of her. Cut!
Oh, no.
Cut meaning not that scene, meaning the whole picture that I was in this way. But there were a lot of interesting experiences, which
She played Lancaster's sister, and he probably did. Is that why he objected?
The story was Houston really felt that the story had a lot to do with racism in the Old West, where Indians particularly were hated, and I looked like an Indian in the story. Okay, and I dressed like an Indian because I felt that, thumbing your nose at somebody, but I was really Irish, Portuguese, and Greek. But I dressed like an Indian, so, but Houston had made the story focus somewhat around me. Audrey Hepburn was not a white woman born of a mother, but of an Indian child, an infant, who was left when many of the soldiers and whatever killed all the Indians around. This man picked up this Indian child and gave it to, at the time it was, oh my God, I remember.
Was it Lillian Gish?
Lillian Gish, yes. So Lancaster